Oh, hello everybody. Hello once again. Welcome to another episode of People's Freeway. What do you guys do for fun? Huh? What do you do? Do you fish? Do you climb mountains? Do you play video games? Do you watch movies? What is it? Well, luckily here in Salt Lake, there is a great convention that happens every summer that we visited that may answer that question for a lot of Salt Lakers. And that question is, do you like playing games? Of course, I'm talking about Gaming Con. It's a, yearly shindig that pops up. And we, being I and a couple of friends, were lucky enough to come on down to the convention center down South Salt Lake and partake in the wares. There are video games, there are board games, there was merch. There's a lot of good stuff. And I was even able to run into a number of people that are excited about podcasts like me, and we did some on-site recording with them. So it's going to be an interesting experience. It's going to be a lot of fun, too, as we talk about the culture, talk about why it's important to have fun here in Salt Lake, and why it might be fun for you to sit back, relax, and listen, because this is People's Freeway. Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to People's Freeway, the Slug Life podcast focusing on subculture SLC. My name is Mike, and today I'm handling it solo once again, my friends. It's been the past couple of them. I haven't couple of them. It's been the past couple episodes where I have taken the reins, and instead of sitting across from somebody and drilling into their brains, finding out answers to questions that maybe annoying or otherwise. Once again, it's just you and me. At least, for the first intro here. Let's get back to what I was speaking about before all the cool music was going on. The past couple of weeks have been interesting. This episode is going to be mostly about just my experience with Gaming Con that happened a couple weeks back. Like I mentioned before, a couple friends of mine and I went to try it out, getting more hardcore into the D&D scene, remembering what it's like to play video games again, and just being able to go down and chill out and look at all the cool art, all the cool creativity, and generally just a pretty positive community. We'll, of course, have links for Gaming Con and all the people that we're going to be speaking with in the description below. Feel free to check them out. We ran into a great couple of people from the Utah Podcast Summit, and we'll be making sure to pass along that information too, in case you guys are listening to this and you're wondering, hey, if an idiot like Mike can do this stuff, maybe I can too and have a good time doing it. I assure you can. But we recorded a podcast with them. The audio quality is going to be a little bit different because it was their own setup, and I am not familiar in regards to the kind of mics they're using and everything, but it sounded pretty good. I go in and out a little bit here and there, but that's just because of my immense podcast magnetism. It shorted out some microphones. No, it didn't. Never mind. But had a great conversation with some great people who are interested in doing the same thing. And then towards the end, we had a special interview with some people that I didn't think would have shown up at Gaming Con, but they were kind enough to answer my questions, and we'll save that one for later. But anyway, I invite you to close your eyes, relax, and imagine yourself in the center of a massive convention with a lot of people, a lot of good energy, and it's going to carry it on from there. Here we go.
All right, we're recording.
We're recording? All right. Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to another episode of People's Freeway, the Slug Life podcast. Today, we're getting sponsored by an incredible group of people here at the Utah Podcast Summit. They have not only given me a group of lovely people to talk to, they've also given me their equipment.
That's the most important part.
It is. Joining me today, I have two new friends who are manning the con. One older friend who is joining me at the con. Tessa, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. And Chrisella?
Yeah.
Oh my
Hi.
gosh, I remembered your name. After only meeting you in 3 seconds. And Brett or something. No, Brandon. I know. It's all good. So guys, this is my first gaming con, and the podcast that I do is a lot about how weird and interesting Salt Lake City really is, seeing as I've only been here for about 5 or 6 years, which to some is a long time, but I think in SLC years it's probably pretty small, because unbeknownst to a lot of people, there's a lot of stuff in Utah generally, but also like when it comes to the center of it, which I think is, the city and everything. What is important for people to know when it comes to the community here at the Game Con? I mean, it looks like there's, well, I hate to use the term, like there's geeks aplenty or whatever, but there are. And there's usually in my experience, Tessa and I are here mostly for the D&D circuit, a game that I've only started playing heavily this year, but it's been such a positive experience for me. Is that something you guys find as well? Or is that, what are the different machinations that you guys find when it comes to being here and operating a booth here at the con?
So one of the coolest things that has been about being here at the con is that everybody who's come up to talk to us, they have something that they love. They're not here because they hate games. They're here because they love games, whether it's D&D, pinball, Overwatch,
Fortnite.
Yeah, Fortnite
Nice.
is huge right now. They've got a huge tournament going on over there. And so that's what I think is really cool about here. Geeks aplenty, like you said, but they're so diverse, and everybody likes something different, and that's okay.
Yeah, there's a little bit for everybody here.
Yes.
I mean, it's really interesting to me how sometimes people who are outside of the community, which aren't a lot of people nowadays because pulp culture has been able to absorb a lot of the kind of things that we've always known has been cool. Now everyone's getting kind of like, clued in onto it. But it really is easy for people to have, like, I think, like a homogenized view. Like, they think that only one kind of person comes here for one kind of thing. And it's more diversified, I think. Is that something that you've run into from time to time? I mean, like, we have D&D here, we have video games here, we have just, like...
Absolutely. It's so nice to see all of the different personalities that show up here, and all of the age groups that you would never expect. But you have the whole...
you see people carrying their babies around here in the hall.
Yeah,
it's great.
Exactly. I remember the very first con I went to, I got a comment of, you don't look like somebody who plays D&D.
Oh, no.
Oh, gosh.
But when you are at those D&D tables, there is, you can't pinpoint one person who would play that game. It's really a melting pot experience.
That's cool.
Being at these cons.
That's always really refreshing to me, too. I've met a lot of people in this community. Mic adjustment. And it's always been like a pleasant surprise. Let's talk about that if you want to a little bit, because sometimes at the tables, you do get like a little pushback because people get, you may be a geek, but are you as geek as I am?
Right.
Yeah. What level of geek are you on?
Yeah, exactly. Like, are you level 20 or level 1 or whatever? So sometimes there's a little bit of pushback, and I've had that experience myself on more than one occasion. But what do you think is probably... I mean, everyone has, like, a list of, like, people who are just getting into it, right? Like, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. What's some advice that you guys think that we should provide for people who have been doing it for years and maybe in, a situation where there's, like, a baby wizard or something coming to the table, or somebody who's never heard of Fortnite or something like that?
Right.
What do you think, Marcella, is something that veterans have taken into consideration?
Right. Well, it's kind of funny that you asked me this because I was very, very nerdy until I actually started working on starting my businesses, and I've fallen out of the nerd and the geek community a little bit. So coming back here, I'm just like, oh my gosh, all these things I love, they're here, and I get to spend a day here, and it's so exciting. So I think, one of the things that is really important is that it's so easy in this space to be really negative about things that you don't like.
Right.
And that just drives new people away. And it just creates a really toxic experience for people, especially if they're just getting started. And Brandon can talk a lot more about this because this is kind of his thing.
Let's get into it.
So on the fandom podcast, we've realized there is too much out there to spend any time at all on the things you hate.
Yeah.
You just got to spend it on the things you love.
Exactly.
And you got to remember that things change and people change, and that's okay. Change is okay.
Let's talk about that a bit too, because it's when you are taking care of the Fandom Podcast, which is part of the Utah Podcast Summit, I believe, right? It's part of the network. You guys have to be not only loyal to your audience, but you have to be loyal to yourself too. How do you balance all this stuff? Because it's such a pop culture kind of thing now. I love popping my peas, by the way. How do you guys choose what you're going to talk about? Because you could talk about so much, or on the same side, you could get into something so much that you might lose part of your audience. You guys have to diversify a little bit, I think, just like the con has to.
So what we found with the Fandom Podcast is that we're going to attract who we attract.
Yeah.
And it's more of a mindset thing than it is even I like this fandom thing. I have a lot of friends who listen to the show who said, I never would have even thought to watch The Walking Dead. Zombies aren't my thing.
Right.
But we've got a co-host who loves The Walking Dead, and so he talks about The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And that's the secret is people will flock to you if you have that mentality, and they'll listen if they're interested. If they're like, no, I've watched The Walking Dead, it is not for me. It's okay if they skip an episode.
For sure.
It's more about building that community of positive fans and positive mindset.
Yeah.
So
that's wicked.
And that's one reason why we started the Utah Podcast Summit, is because we really, we wanted to build this community, and we wanted people to understand that when you do a podcast, it's not so important to necessarily cater to the fans. It's about telling your story.
It's a labor of love. It really is.
Yeah, it's about finding what's important to you and talking about it, and really finding that passion in your story. Because when you are passionate about something, you will find other people who are passionate about it too.
Yeah, exactly. It's no longer a job anymore. If you have enough love for it, then you can just do it anyway and just have fun.
Absolutely.
And if you have more people under that umbrella, like what you guys are doing with the summit, then you have even more power for people going for that one goal. I think it's really interesting where this is kind of like the cons like this in and of themselves. I mean, because I've been to corporate stuff too. It's not nearly as fun. Right. This isn't a regular gathering of people. I mean, we've already talked about a little bit like how everybody has like their little niche, but overall people are just here to have fun and try and figure out if they are, willing to find other parts of this culture that they can get into. And I think when you have a lot of people that just have a little bit in common, you can accomplish a lot. And it's an incredible thing.
Absolutely.
What do you guys think is probably like the most contested too? What was the biggest thing that excited you about what's going on this weekend? I mean, like, is there a particular game? Is there a particular company? Is there a particular, besides being here and recording strangers off of the aisle? What is it that's really turning you guys on about the con?
My favorite experience that I've had so far here is I got to go over and talk with Christopher Judge. He played Teal. He did the voice of Kratos. He's an awesome guy.
Yeah.
This is my second time that I've been able to meet him.
Cool.
And it's so funny because he plays the most stoic characters in the world. He said
it's that voice, man.
Yeah, it is. He said, but he also said he's the highest paid actor in Hollywood per word because he never says anything.
It's a law of averages. That's what's going on.
Right. And he just is, he gets it. He gets why we're here, and he's always got that smile plastered on his face.
Yeah.
And he makes no bones about it. He is here because he wants to work in sci-fi and fantasy.
Right.
Because that's something that's aspirational and inspirational. And just talking to him, I felt that. I felt that from him. And
that's got to be so refreshing.
Yeah, it definitely was. Because I've met a lot of celebrities over the years, and sometimes who they are in front of people completely different than who they are behind the stage.
Yeah.
But Christopher Judge is one of those guys who's just the same everywhere he goes.
That's wicked. That's awesome. I'll have to go over there and see how he's doing.
So that's probably the thing that I was the most excited about and have been the most excited about.
That's awesome. That's valid. That's really good. What about you, Chris? What's going on with you?
I think for me, it's been so cool walking around and seeing all the small businesses and all the people who are here at the booth.
Dude.
And it's amazing walking around the artists. There is so much talent here, and just seeing all that talent. And then right down the row from us, there's Watchtower Cafe, which is a nerdy little coffee shop, and I love them. And I love
it's a secret place.
Here.
Don't talk about it. We don't let many people know about it.
Yeah.
You hit on a subject that Tessa and I were talking about just earlier when it was this is dangerous. Like I remember with the larger cons, like the Salt Lake Comic Con that later became the Comic Con and FanX. But last time I was there, when it was still that one under that one umbrella, that one body, I spent $500 in a day.
Easy.
Yeah, easy. Yeah. So even though this is the last day of the con, and if you guys are hearing this, obviously it's probably going to be, after the con is over, but it's a yearly thing. If you come here, come with fat wallets and don't feel bad.
I've never seen so many excellent artists here.
Yeah.
You're looking
quality.
for nerd art.
Yeah, it's quality
This
stuff.
is the place to be.
It's ridiculous. How about you? What's really like your
the thing that
high
brings
point?
me back here is meeting new friends and is networking with people and just getting to know people who like the same sort of thing that I do, and that's really nice. It's nice to get out from behind the internet screen.
Yeah.
Make eye contact with people.
Right.
Maybe exchange a phone number.
Yeah, why not?
Something like that. Yeah. That's really what I look forward to. It's the best part for me.
Kind of reaffirms your faith in humanity a little bit.
It really does. Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Cool. When you go through here and when we see all the good art and all the different companies popping up, it's great, I think, that people have the capability of being able to embrace their inner capitalist a little bit.
Right.
I mean, it's not a political podcast. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry. Everything's fine. But there are some points that have been brought up with artists that I do know in the community where this is kind of, people get their own take on it, but do you guys think that maybe it's getting a little too commercial? I mean, I'm happy about the stuff that I like becoming more popular and having all of these different artists, for instance, put their own take on it. They're making originality out of somebody else's idea, I think, in a sense. And anybody who can add their ingredients to the pot, I'm a fan of. But I think there might also be an argument about it becoming such an integral part of pop culture that it's getting a little, like what I mentioned before, a little homogenized. Maybe there is something to be said about people outside of the community that kind of just paint it with a wide brush because everybody's getting in onto the dollar sign a little bit.
Right. That's something that we see a lot in fandom.
Yeah.
A lot with, so you look at, for lack of a better word, the hipsters who are like, no,
sure.
I liked this thing before it was cool.
Right.
And they will be out there and they'll get so mad when something that they love, quote unquote, sells out.
Yeah.
And in reality, that's probably the best thing that could happen to
I agree with you.
That's the end goal for most creators, is to get big and have a wide audience and to be successful.
Because people are giving them money to do their art, because people are out there supporting them, they're actually able to do more art.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, the term sell out is very negative.
Yeah.
But the end result of it is you get more of the things that you love.
I don't think that people really should have the attitude where they should fight the commercialism so much.
Right.
I can understand the argument because people do have that place where it's like, oh, it used to be cool when less people knew about this. The cafe being, the Watchtower being case in point, but you can't, I don't think that you can argue that, we shouldn't inhibit an artist.
Okay, so SLC Gaming Con,
that's the beauty of doing it live. I love it.
We're going to do a competition now.
Oh my God.
Myself, Victoria Atkin, who voices Security and Alien in the Frozen Wilds, DLC, for Horizon Zero Dawn, and the director, Jamie Mortellaro. We're giving away a free signed
I don't think we introduced
anything at all. Dude, they could give away a free signed piece of toilet paper. It'd be awesome.
Come to the booth before 4 p.m. today with your ID. We have a birthday that we picked. And if your birthday is as close to that birthday as we picked, you will win the hoodie.
Wow.
So come over, see Jamie Mortellaro and Victoria Atkin in the booth for your chance to win that today.
Wow.
And all the details are on Twitter, on my Twitter at Victoria Atkin. So go follow and come and win this hoodie.
The announcements are usually a little shorter than that.
It's okay. It's okay. It's all part of doing it live, like you mentioned before. But see, that's a good case in point. We wouldn't have talented actors coming here if they couldn't make their money, but they make their money off of art styles and geek culture, for lack of a better term. Maybe it's good that people have the attitude where, I don't want everything to be painted with a wide brush.
I think people just don't like standing in line. I think they just don't like to wait for things, and I think they would like everything to be immediate and
convenient.
Well, when your artist is doing well and is making things that everybody likes,
it's harder to get their stuff.
You might have to wait in line a little bit. And that's okay.
I think that's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
I think I'll leave it at that. Well, guys, I can't thank you enough for giving us a chance to speak with you about this. I didn't want to take up too much time because I my voice might be alluring and interesting for 15 minutes.
Oh, it is.
Thank you.
I can listen to it.
Oh, thank you very much. But if I were to go 20 minutes or so, you're going to be kicking me out of the booth. So, thank you so very much to Brennan, to Chrysla. Yes. And Tessa, thank you so very much for letting me prod your brain a little bit.
Thank you for having me.
I'll see you at the table later on today. As always, my name is Mike. Thank you so very much, guys, for listening to this live Game Con episode edition of People's Freeway. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you so very much, and take care. Bye.
See ya.
Nice. What a great interview. Good people, right? Apparently, the Utah Podcast Summit has been doing a lot of great work, just bringing a lot of people together. If you guys have any questions about them, and if you happen to be in the Salt Lake area, I will be, like I mentioned before, providing links to their, website, how you can get in touch with them, what they're doing with, space at SLC, Salt Lake Community College. And just being able to put your thoughts into a creative medium. It can be really freeing, man. It can be a great outlet if you're creative, if you're trying to find cool stuff about cool people, cool places, and as I think that interview proved, if you happen to be a geek, no shame. Let your freak flag fly, baby. Anyway. The last little bit of today's episode is going to be concerning another interview that I did at Gaming Con. This one was a little bit more serious, but I think it was interesting to have had the opportunity, I think it was great to have had the opportunity to speak with, you know what, I'll just let you guys listen in. Here we go. All right, so what was your name, man?
Michael.
Michael?
Todd. Yeah.
Michael Todd?
Yes.
Oh, dude, 2 first names?
Yes.
That's brilliant. And what's your name, ma'am? Sherry, okay. Well, it's a pleasure to be speaking with you guys. Guys, I'm here with Mike and Sherry. They have a booth here at the Gaming Con for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And one thing that I noticed, I came here on Friday, and I noticed you guys had a booth. And I find it really great that you guys are here, being able to offer some information to anybody who wants it. But we're here to celebrate, pop culture and zombies and everything. But obviously it's very important to have a presence like this here at the con. Why is it that you guys decided to come here and represent the foundation this weekend? Why is it important to have you guys here?
Well, as you can see with my shirt is Skyrim.
That's right. Keep calm and remove the arrow from your knee, because you used to be adventurer until you hit the arrow from the knee.
Yeah, so I'm part of this culture, but also want to raise that awareness to suicide prevention. I've lost my father years ago.
I'm sorry.
But being here helped raising that awareness, because I wish back when my dad died, I had these resources that it would have helped me in my healing process but weren't available. And being able to reach out and spread that word that maybe helps somebody else out in a way I wish I had going through my own struggle.
That's incredible. It's really interesting to me how it's really just a sense of little things, being able to communicate with the right people, being able to...
This right here, Seize the Awkward.
Seize the Awkward, these stickers. Is this a new campaign for the foundation that you guys are going through?
And then it brings up ideas and questions that you can bring up, that if you know somebody's struggling, you can ask these questions of bringing up that hard or awkward conversation. Hey, are you struggling here? Hey, do you need some help?
Right. It gives you resources. And that's one thing, too, that a lot of people, I think, don't realize, that because it can be awkward trying to putting yourself in that conversation.
Yes.
But if it's somebody that you care about, then...
And that's really a lot of our push of the out of the darkness, is bringing that word out of the darkness.
Do you find that there is generally a large need for resources like this in the gaming community, in the board game community, or
most assuredly? I mean, like I said, I come from it. I struggle with my own, and I know a lot of my friends and other people in the community struggle on their own. Just from what I've seen of being a part of that community, that it's a definite need.
That's incredible. What do you think is probably something that we can take into consideration when it comes to being able to to notice some of the signs? What are the things that people should be looking for if they think that, because what we're dealing with a lot when it comes to our communities, people are online, they're talking with people. Most of the friends that I game with, I haven't met face to face.
Right.
What are some of the things that you think may be able to take as warning signs when all we have as communication is just a voice and a headset?
It's interesting you bring this up because I've dealt with that I have a friend that lives on the other side of the world that I'll probably never meet, but have been friends with her for 7 or 8 years playing online gaming.
What's your poison of choice?
It started with the Assassin's Creed Online.
Nice. Nice.
But I guess some of the warning signs is changes in their patterns.
Okay.
So like with her, I know when she's being quiet, something may be a little wrong. Something may be a little off, or vice versa. When I'm feeling down, she'll realize, hey, you're not talking much. Do we need to get away from the big group and do a one-on-one chat and talk it out?
How do you tell a difference? Because that must be challenging as well. How do you tell a difference between somebody who you think might actually be going through a really rough time and somebody who's just having a bad day or something like that?
That's where asking those questions.
That's how you find out.
Yeah, that's why asking those awkward questions. Hey, are you struggling here? Do you something going on here? Hey, I'm noticing XYZ you're not in your normal self. Is something bothering?
That's crazy. Mike, thank you so very much.
Yeah.
Sherry, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to throw this down on the table here. I'm taking this home. I wanted to ask you the same question that I asked Mike. Why do you think it's important for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention to have a booth here at Gaming Con SLC?
With the amount of adolescents that are into gaming and that are here and the rate that we're losing our adolescents to suicide, it's important to have a presence anywhere that they're going to be. And gaming is such an isolating thing that they do. It's great to be able to, talk to them and let them know that it's okay to not be okay. And
that they're not alone. That's interesting too. That's something like I've only been living in Utah for about a little over 6 years, and one of the things that was very alarming to me, especially when it came to youth members in the LGBTQ community, it's the number one reason for death here in Utah. It's suicide. Do you find that because we are dealing with a community that could be considered isolated, that adds an additional challenge for communication when it comes to because we're dealing with an isolated kind of community, does that add to the challenge of trying to help people and give them the tools that they need in order to communicate?
Absolutely it does. Because if they're isolating and you can't reach them, it's really difficult. That's why we're trying to, get the education and awareness in the schools where they're at. And
also here at the Gaming Con, obviously.
Yes, we had an interfaith summit where a bunch of religious leaders in the valley came, and we talked about suicide and how they can help their families and their youth that are in their congregations to be able to have that conversation.
What do you think is probably, in your professional opinion, the largest challenge that a counselor or somebody who wants to promote education for suicide prevention? What do you think is probably the biggest challenge you guys have to deal with now with 2018, especially in communities here in Utah?
Social media.
Really? Why?
The kids are never away from it. They're always in front of it. They don't have a break. When I was in school, I got to go home from school, but now your kids get home, and when they're walking home, they've got their phones, and when they get home, they've got their phones, and they've got the computer, and they've got the game system, and so they're being attacked from all these different areas that I wasn't attacked when I was growing up.
Right, the capability to get this self-esteem problem for having your own self-worth. I'm sure they're probably firing on all cylinders when it comes to their own defense mentally and that kind of thing. Well, I appreciate you guys giving me a little bit of your time. I know you're really busy. If there was one thing that you could tell people who are coming here to enjoy the con, but might be a little depressed or might be dealing with some things, what do you think is probably the number one thing they can take away from coming and seeing you guys today?
The best thing is there's an app called Safe Utah.
Okay.
If anybody's struggling, you can text or call with it. to talk
That's
to a
awesome.
professional.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And a professional counselor.
A professional will be on the other end that you can either text or call to help you out, or if you have a friend that you're wanting to know how to help them out, you can text them to get advice of, hey, I have a friend here struggling. What can I do to help?
And that's the main part, isn't it? Communication, making sure that people feel a little less isolated, a little less alone.
Yes.
All right.
And that you're never alone.
All right.
You're
Awesome.
not alone.
That's a hell of a message. I appreciate you guys giving me your time today.
The other thing I would say is we have our Out of Darkness walk coming up September.
Oh, that's
15th.
right. Yeah, cool.
In September 15th, Liberty Park. We had over 6,000 people show up last year.
6,000?
It was amazing. It was amazing. And
I will probably be heading out to
Yes.
checking this out this year. That's great.
Yes, please do. Please come out. It's a great area of support. They have beads that everybody wears that identify what you're struggling with. I wear a white bead for loss of a child to suicide. So
I'm so sorry, Sharon.
when I see another parent, when I see somebody else wearing the white bead, I know they get it.
There's a community there.
There's community. Yep.
Well, guys, thank you so very much. Thank you for what you're doing and just making sure that people know that they have a place to go. Thank you very much. Well, there you have it, guys. Nice little addition to some local awesome that happens right here in Salt Lake City. I want to give a big thank you to the wonderful individuals that gave me a little bit of time to speak with them. Shout out to Brendan and Grisella. Shout out to Sherry and Mike. Thank you so very much, guys. If anybody wants to figure out what's going on with those lovely people and their organizations, just check the description. We'll have links. We'll have websites that you can go to. Thank you very much for taking time out of your day to listen to me, just talk to you guys about this great experience that I had. And generally just, listen to the words come out of my mouth anyway. But as always, this is People's Freeway. My name is Mike, reminding you to enjoy the ride. Thank you so very much for listening, and we will see you next time. Peace!